There is a kind of power that almost nobody can see. It cannot be measured by money. It cannot be proven by status. It cannot be displayed through physical strength. And no title can give it to you. It is the power to remain master of yourself when the world gives you every reason to lose control. Think about how easily peace can disappear. One insulting sentence can stay inside your mind for an entire day. One betrayal can follow you for years. One rejection can make you question everything you believed about yourself. One person can ignore you, criticize you, disrespect you, or leave you, and suddenly they occupy your thoughts without paying any price for being there. They may continue their life peacefully, but you continue the conversation inside your head. You imagine what you should have said. You replay what happened. You wonder why they did it. And without realizing it, you have given another human being something far more valuable than your time. Without realizing it, you have given another human being something far more valuable than your time. You have given them control over your inner world. The Stoics understood this danger more than 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius ruled one of the most powerful empires the world had ever seen. He commanded armies. He possessed enormous political authority. Yet his private writings reveal something fascinating. The emperor constantly reminded himself to control one person above everyone else, himself. Because Marcus understood that ruling an empire meant nothing if anger could rule him. Power meant nothing if criticism could destroy his peace. Victory meant nothing if fear controlled his decisions. And reputation meant nothing if he needed the approval of others to know his own worth. That is the paradox of Stoicism. You become powerful not when you gain control over everyone else, but when everyone else begins losing unnecessary control over you. The goal is not to become emotionless. It is not to become cold. And it is certainly not to stop caring about people. The goal is to build such command over your own mind that betrayal cannot turn you bitter, criticism cannot define you, failure cannot destroy your identity, and uncertainty cannot force you into panic. Today, we are going through 10 Stoic lessons for becoming mentally unshakable. Do not simply listen to them, test them against your own life. Think about the people who disturb your peace. Think about the fears controlling your decisions. Think about the things you are terrified of losing, because somewhere within these 10 lessons may be the exact chain you need to break. And the final lesson reveals why the greatest victory of your life may be one nobody else ever sees. Lesson 1. Guard the gates of your mind. The history of Stoicism begins with a man who lost almost everything. Zeno of Citium was associated with trade before philosophy transformed his life. According to the traditional account, a shipwreck contributed to the loss of his fortune. For many people, such an event would have represented destruction. For Zeno, it eventually became a doorway. The loss pushed him toward philosophy, and from what appeared to be personal disaster emerged ideas that would influence human beings for more than 2,000 years. There is something important hidden inside that story. An event can change your circumstances without being allowed to define your character. This distinction is easy to understand intellectually and incredibly difficult to practice. Something happens. Then, your mind immediately begins explaining what it means. You lose an opportunity. The fact is, the opportunity is gone, but the mind adds, I always fail. Someone rejects you. The fact is, one person rejected you, but the mind adds, I am not worthy of love. Someone criticizes you. The fact is, a person expressed an opinion, but your mind adds, maybe everyone thinks this about me. Reality provides a few facts. Imagination writes 50 additional pages. Then you suffer from all 50 pages. This is why the Stoic mind must function like a guarded fortress. Imagine an ancient city surrounded by enormous walls. At the center of that city lies everything important: your judgment, your values, your character, your attention, your peace. Every day, thousands of things approach the gates: opinions, news, criticism, fear, comparison, memories, temptations, insults. Not everything deserves entry, yet most people leave the gates completely open. One stranger writes something cruel and is immediately allowed inside. One person refuses to reply and fear walks through the gates. One successful person appears on social media and comparison enters. Then anxiety follows, then insecurity, then resentment. Eventually the city is full of invaders and the person wonders why peace has disappeared. You cannot prevent thoughts from appearing at the gates, but you can question them before giving them permanent residence. When fear says, "Everything is going to go wrong," ask, "What evidence do I actually have?" When comparison says, "You are behind," ask, "Behind whom? According to whose timeline?" When criticism says, "You are worthless," ask, "Is there useful information here, or am I confusing someone's opinion with my identity?" That small pause changes everything. Because your first thought is not always the truth. Your first emotion is not always your wisest guide. Your first interpretation is not always reality. A disciplined mind does not believe every visitor who knocks. Guard the gates. Because whatever you repeatedly allow into your mind eventually begins shaping the person living inside it. Lesson 2. Separate the event from the story. Epictetus began life under circumstances radically different from Marcus Aurelius. Marcus became emperor. Epictetus experienced slavery. Yet both arrived at a similar insight. External circumstances do not possess unlimited authority over the human mind. Epictetus emphasized the distinction between what depends upon us and what does not. You do not control another person's opinion. You do not control the past. You cannot guarantee tomorrow. You cannot force loyalty. You cannot demand love. You cannot order life to remove uncertainty. But your choices, your judgments, your intentions, your response, those are different. And yet most people spend enormous amounts of energy trying to control the first category while neglecting the second. Someone ignores your message. You cannot control their response, but you begin thinking, "They don't respect me." Then, "I must have done something wrong." Then, "They are probably talking to someone else." Within minutes, one unanswered message has become an imaginary tragedy. Notice the difference between the event and the story. Event, no response yet. Story, I am being rejected. Those are not identical. Suppose you fail at something. Event, the attempt failed. Story, I am a failure. Again, not identical. A relationship ends. Event, the relationship ended. Story, I will always be alone. Not identical. This distinction is one of the most valuable mental habits you can develop. Whenever something painful happens, ask, "What happened objectively?" Then ask, "What am I adding to what happened?" You may discover that the second answer contains most of your suffering. This does not mean pretending painful experiences are harmless. Loss hurts. Betrayal hurts. Rejection hurts. Stoicism does not require lying to yourself. It requires accuracy. Do not turn one difficult chapter into a prophecy about the entire book. Do not transform one person's behavior into a verdict on your worth. Do not allow one failure to become your identity. You are not required to believe every conclusion your fear produces. Separate reality from interpretation. The event may be outside your control. The meaning you build around it deserves much closer examination. Lesson 3. Protect your attention. There is something you give away every day that is more precious than money. Your attention. Money can sometimes return. Attention cannot. The hour you spent yesterday worrying about something meaningless is permanently gone. Seneca understood the strange contradiction of human beings. People carefully protect their property. They become angry when someone wastes their money. Yet they allow almost anyone to waste their time. Someone insults you for 10 seconds. You think about them for 3 hours. Someone posts something you dislike. You spend the evening arguing. Someone betrayed you 5 years ago. They left your life. Yet you continue giving them part of every week through memory. Who is paying the larger price? Attention is life in small pieces. Wherever it goes, part of your life goes with it. Imagine your attention as a torch. Whatever you point it toward becomes illuminated. Point it constantly toward everything wrong with your life and problems dominate your vision. Point it toward what everyone else possesses and your own life begins looking empty. Point it toward resentment and old enemies remain alive inside you. But point it toward disciplined work, learning, gratitude, health, relationships worth keeping, and things you can actually influence, and your world begins changing. The problem is not that negative things exist. The problem is giving them unlimited attention. Some problems require action. Give them action, then move forward. Do not confuse endless thinking with productive problem solving. Ask yourself, how much attention did I spend today on something I cannot change? How much did I spend imagining conversations that never happened? How much did I spend comparing my life with strangers? How much did I spend thinking about someone who is not thinking about me? That is your life being spent. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself to return his attention to the task in front of him. That principle remains powerful today. When working, work. When resting, rest. When speaking with someone you love, be there. When a problem requires action, act. Stop allowing your mind to live everywhere except where your body actually is. Protect your attention like wealth. Not every person deserves it. Not every opinion deserves it. Not every notification deserves it. Not every argument deserves it. And certainly not every thought deserves it. The person who repeatedly controls your attention eventually influences the direction of your life. Make sure that person is you. Lesson 4. Stop demanding that life obey your script. Much suffering comes from a hidden sentence. This wasn't supposed to happen. They were supposed to stay. You were supposed to succeed. People were supposed to appreciate you. The plan was supposed to work. Life was supposed to be fair. And then reality did something else. Now you are not only dealing with the event, you are fighting reality itself. The Stoics trained themselves to expect change. They contemplated loss. They remembered that wealth can disappear, that reputation can change, that health is not guaranteed, that relationships are temporary, that plans can fail. Not because they wanted disaster, because they did not want reality to catch their character completely unprepared. Consider the difference between two people. One believes, if this goes wrong, I cannot handle it. The other says, I hope it goes well, but if it doesn't, I will respond. Who enters uncertainty with greater strength? This is where voluntary discomfort becomes useful. Sometimes choose the harder option. Train when motivation disappears. Finish the work when you would rather procrastinate. Take a cold morning walk. Sit without constant entertainment. Say no to an impulse simply because you can. You are teaching your mind, I do not require perfect comfort to remain functional. That lesson becomes invaluable when discomfort arrives without invitation. You should also examine the contracts you secretly create with other people. They should understand me. They should appreciate everything I do. They should never disappoint me. Maybe they should. But you cannot build peace upon another person's guaranteed obedience. People change. People fail. People misunderstand. People reveal parts of their character you did not expect. Wisdom sees this without becoming cynical. Acceptance does not mean allowing people to mistreat you. You can leave. You can establish boundaries. You can defend yourself. You can change direction. But first, see reality as it actually is. You cannot wisely respond to something while refusing to accept that it exists. Stop arguing with the storm. Learn how to stand inside it. Lesson 5. Become the person who cannot be easily provoked. If someone knows exactly what to say to make you lose control, they have discovered a weakness. Think about that. A person says one sentence. Your heart accelerates. Your voice changes. You become angry. You say something you regret. For the next several hours, your peace disappears. They used words. You supplied the rest. This is why immediate reaction is not always strength. Sometimes reaction is obedience. They expected you to become angry, and you did. They expected you to argue, and you did. They pressed the button. You performed the programmed response. A person who can be provoked on command can be manipulated on command. Marcus Aurelius prepared himself for difficult people. He expected selfishness, dishonesty, arrogance, and ingratitude to exist. That preparation prevented every unpleasant encounter from becoming a shocking discovery. This does not excuse bad behavior. It prevents bad behavior from controlling your character. Suppose an angry person insults you. Their anger tells you something about them. Why immediately make it something about you? Suppose an arrogant person tries to make you feel small. Their need to feel superior may reveal far more about their insecurity than your value. Other people's behavior is often a report on their inner world. Stop reading every report as though it were written about yours. When provoked, pause. Ask, what response will I respect tomorrow? Your anger may want one answer. Pause. Your character may want another. That distance between impulse and action is where freedom lives. Thoughtful. You can feel anger without becoming anger. You can experience disrespect without becoming disrespectful. You can experience chaos without allowing chaos to enter your behavior. Imagine a mountain lake. A stone hits the surface, ripples appear, then stillness returns. The lake does not preserve the disturbance forever. Neither should you. People will throw stones. Life will throw stones. You cannot prevent that. Your work is learning how quickly you return to stillness. Calm. Lesson 6. Reduce what the world can use against you. Every form of manipulation needs leverage. What do you desperately need? Approval, money, status, comfort, a particular relationship, admiration. Whatever you believe you cannot live without can become a chain. The famous story of Diogenes and Alexander the Great illustrates this dramatically. Alexander possessed armies, wealth, and extraordinary authority. Diogenes possessed almost nothing. When Alexander offered to do something for him, Diogenes reportedly asked him simply to move out of his sunlight. The story survives because of the contrast. Alexander could offer almost anything. Diogenes needed almost nothing from him, and therefore Alexander possessed surprisingly little leverage over the philosopher. You do not need to imitate Diogenes literally to understand the principle. Reduce unnecessary dependence. If you desperately need praise, criticism becomes terrifying. If you desperately need status, losing position becomes terrifying. If you desperately need comfort, difficulty becomes terrifying. If you desperately need everyone to stay, relationships become governed by fear. The Stoics were not teaching people to stop loving. They were teaching them not to turn love into psychological slavery. Love deeply, but do not destroy yourself trying to prevent someone from leaving. Build wealth. but know who you are without it. Pursue success, but do not make achievement the evidence that you deserve to exist. Enjoy comfort, but remain capable of enduring difficulty. The goal is not possessionlessness. It is inner independence. Ask yourself, what am I most afraid to lose? Your answer may reveal exactly where the world possesses the greatest leverage over you, then strengthen that area. If you fear criticism, practice acting without universal approval. If you fear discomfort, voluntarily experience manageable discomfort. If you fear being alone, learn to enjoy your own company. If you fear failure, attempt things where failure is possible. Every fear faced consciously removes another handle the world can use to move you. Build a foundation deeper than circumstances. Lesson 7. Stop protecting your ego. Ego has an unusual ability to transform education into humiliation. Someone corrects you. You become defensive. Someone disagrees. You feel attacked. Someone succeeds. You become jealous. Someone receives praise. You wonder why you did not receive it. Why? Because ego asks the same question about everything. What does this say about me? Socrates became associated with one of philosophy's most important attitudes, awareness of one's own ignorance. The wise person remains teachable. That sounds simple. It is not. Because learning requires admitting that your current understanding may be incomplete. And ego hates incompleteness. It wants to appear finished. It wants certainty. It wants superiority. It wants to win. But if you need to win every argument, eventually you will sacrifice truth to protect your pride. If you need to appear intelligent, you will become afraid to ask questions. If you need to appear strong, you will hide weaknesses that should be improved. If you need everyone to admire you, you will slowly build your personality around applause. That is a fragile life. Marcus Aurelius held enormous authority, yet his private reflections repeatedly contain self-correction. He reminds himself to become better, to remain humble, to return to reason, to avoid being corrupted by power. That is the attitude you need, not I have arrived, but I am still becoming. The ego wants to appear strong. Wisdom wants to become strong. The difference is enormous. The next time someone corrects you, resist the immediate defense. Listen first. Maybe they are wrong, but maybe there is 5% truth inside what they said. Take the 5%. Leave the rest. Your goal is not to protect a perfect image. Your goal is to develop a stronger character. Sometimes saying I was wrong is victory. Sometimes changing your mind is intelligence. Sometimes apologizing demonstrates more strength than defending yourself. Do not let your ego become so large that wisdom has nowhere left to enter. Lesson 8. Remember that everything is borrowed. We speak as though things belong to us permanently. My money, my house, my reputation, my relationship, my body, my future. But look carefully. Everything external is changing. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius could look at the Roman Empire and remember that other emperors had ruled before him. Others would rule after him. The throne was temporary. Authority was temporary. Praise was temporary. His body was temporary. Even Rome was temporary. And history proved him right. The empire that once appeared almost permanent eventually changed, fractured, and became history. The lesson is not nothing matters. The lesson is appreciate without demanding permanence. Imagine holding water in an open hand. You can experience it, feel it, appreciate it. But close your fist desperately around it and the water escapes. Life works similarly. The harder you try to force temporary things to become permanent, the more anxiety you create. You love someone. Immediately fear says, what if I lose them? you become successful. Fear says, what if I lose everything? People admire you. Fear says, what if they change their opinion? Now the very things that should produce gratitude begin producing anxiety. Why? Because enjoyment has become possession. The Stoic alternative is gratitude. This person is here now. Appreciate them. This opportunity exists now. Use it. Your body works today. Care for it. You have time today. Spend it wisely. Gratitude lives in the present. Attachment often lives in fear of the future. Remembering impermanence does not make life less meaningful. It makes the present more valuable. If you knew a conversation with someone you love might be your last, would you spend it staring at your phone? If you knew your current health would not last forever, would you treat your body differently? If you knew your time was limited, would the opinions of strangers still deserve so much of it? Everything external is borrowed. Use it well, love it while it is here, but build your deepest identity upon what you can carry even when circumstances change. Wisdom, courage, integrity, discipline, character. Lesson 9. Remember that your time is limited. There is a strange way human beings live. We know intellectually that life ends, but emotionally we behave as though we have unlimited tomorrows. We say, I'll start next week. I'll tell them later. I'll forgive eventually. I'll pursue that dream when I feel ready. I'll become disciplined next month. Then months become years. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reflected on mortality, not because he wanted to become obsessed with death, because remembering death clarified life. If your time is limited, many things suddenly become ridiculous. Spending 3 years hating someone. Ridiculous. Sacrificing your purpose to impress strangers. Ridiculous. Waiting endlessly for perfect confidence. Ridiculous. Destroying today's peace over an argument from yesterday. Ridiculous. Mortality exposes what matters. Imagine your remaining life as sand inside an hourglass. You cannot see exactly how much remains. That is what makes each grain valuable. You would never intentionally throw money away if you knew you possessed very little. Yet people throw hours away while knowing their supply of hours is finite. They scroll, they compare, they complain, they wait, they postpone. And then one day they look backward and ask, where did the years go? The years went wherever the days went, and the days went wherever the hours went. This is why remembering mortality is not depressing. Properly understood, it is awakening. It tells you, call the person, do the work, start the project, apologize, forgive, train, learn, love, live, not recklessly, intentionally. Death does not make life meaningless. It creates urgency around meaning. If you had unlimited time, today would have almost no value. It is precisely because today cannot be repeated that today matters. Do not ask only, how long will I live? Ask, am I actually using the life I already have? That is a much more important question. Lesson 10. The greatest victory is over yourself. Every empire eventually disappears. Every champion eventually loses. Every fortune eventually changes hands. Every famous name slowly becomes history. External victories are temporary. The Stoics therefore focused on another kind of victory, self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius could command soldiers, but could he command his anger? He could influence an empire, but could he govern his desires? He could punish enemies, but could he prevent resentment from corrupting his character? These were greater battles, because you can conquer another person and remain internally weak. You can become wealthy and remain controlled by fear. You can become famous and remain addicted to approval. You can become physically powerful and remain incapable of controlling a single impulse. The world may call you successful while your own mind remains your master. Imagine a mirror that does not show your face. It shows your character. No money, no followers, no job title, no reputation, no expensive possessions. Only your discipline, your courage, your honesty, your patience, your ability to keep promises to yourself, your ability to remain principled when nobody is watching. What would that mirror reveal? That is the Stoic battlefield. The most important victories often receive no applause. You wanted to react angrily. You remained composed. Nobody applauded. Victory. You wanted to procrastinate. You worked anyway. Nobody noticed. Victory. You attempted to lie. You chose integrity. No audience. Victory. You experienced rejection. You refused to let it define your worth. Victory. You lost something valuable. You grieved without losing yourself. Victory. This is how an unshakable person is built. Not through one dramatic transformation, through thousands of private victories, one thought, one choice, one disciplined response at a time, and eventually something changes. People can criticize you without controlling you. They can leave without destroying you. They can misunderstand you without forcing you to prove yourself. Circumstances can change without erasing your identity. You still feel. You still care. You still experience pain. But pain is no longer your master. That is what self-mastery looks like. Closing. Become unshaken. If you remember only one thing from these 10 lessons, remember this. Your greatest freedom begins when you stop giving the outside world unlimited authority over your inside world. You cannot prevent every betrayal. You cannot avoid every failure. You cannot make everyone understand you. You cannot eliminate loss. You cannot stop time. And you cannot force life to obey your plans, but you can become stronger in the way you meet those things. Guard your mind. Question your judgments. Protect your attention. Accept reality before responding to it. Become difficult to provoke. Reduce unnecessary attachments. Choose wisdom over ego. Remember that external things are temporary. Use your limited time deliberately, and above everything else, learn to govern yourself. Marcus Aurelius's empire did not last forever. No empire does. But the private words he wrote while attempting to master himself still speak to people centuries later. There is a lesson in that. External power eventually disappears. Character leaves a deeper mark. So when you finish this video, do not try to transform your entire life tonight. Start smaller. Watch the next thought entering your mind. Ask whether it deserves your belief. Watch the next emotional reaction. Ask whether it deserves control over your behavior. Watch the next insult. Ask whether it deserves hours of your life. Watch the next fear. Ask whether it describes reality or merely predicts it. This is how self-mastery begins. Quietly, privately, repeatedly. Nobody needs to see the battle, because eventually they will see the person those battles created. If you are committed to becoming harder to manipulate, harder to provoke, and stronger within yourself, write one word in the comments: unshaken. Let that word become a reminder. You do not need control over the entire world. You need command over the part of the world that truly belongs to you, your own mind. Subscribe to Stoic Mind Empire for more timeless Stoic wisdom on discipline, emotional control, inner strength, and self-mastery. Until the next lesson, guard your mind, strengthen your character, master yourself, and let the world do what it will.